Hey, welcome back. This is Revisiting the Mania of WrestleMania Rewatch podcast. I'm Carlos,
And I'm Maria.
and today we're going to be taking a little side quest. Normally, we do review or revisit WrestleManias, but we are going to be rewatching or revisiting the 1998 King of the Ring, in particularly the match of epic proportions, I guess you could say.
Super epic proportions.
The Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Mankind.
The hell of all cell matches.
Yeah. So if we're ready,
We're ready to get into it.
let's do it. So, Maria,
Yes.
do you have any tidbits or anything?
I do. So this match took place at the 1998 King of the Ring pay-per-view. So MickFoley, under his personas Mankind and Cactus Jack, faced off against The Undertaker, as we know, in one of the most brutalist Hell in a Cell matches that we've seen. What do you think? Do you think this pushed the limits?
Well, I mean, this definitely was more brutal than the one that they had previously.
Ooh, are you talking about the dumpster match or?
Well, not. I thought we were just referring to the ones that are Hell in a Cell matches.
Okay.
Because before this particular match, there was only one match before this, and that was in 1997 that took place with The Undertaker again versus Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
So the whole thing here is that MickFoley, well, first of all, it was originally supposed to be MickFoley facing Stone Cold Steve Austin. But the thing is that Vince always felt that MickFoley or Mankind was not championship worthy.
Oh, but he is very championship
Well, after
worthy.
this match, he's very championship worthy. But he had only been making his name as a hardcore wrestler, especially in Japan.
Okay.
So, Vince never was very keen on having those type of wrestling matches.
Right.
So it was something that he did not want to do with him in particular, especially have your champion like go out there and having to take those type of things like, all of those bumps where someone is getting kendo stick in the face, taking that chair to the face. In Japan, they actually had that whole thing that we saw, remember, just recently in WrestleMania 22, where they had the barbed wire.
Right.
So that was incorporated in the match that MickFoley had in Japan.
Wow.
With Terry Funk. They had fire, just like we had that fire on the table.
Yes.
And so
that man was on fire, like literally.
Yeah. So it was very interesting, like to see this now. We meant to get this a little bit sooner, but unfortunately we fell a little bit behind and we're able to finally get this bonus episode out.
Right.
But this match in particular, now seeing how MickFoley was in WrestleMania 22 to now, and like pretty much going back in time,
right?
It like you can still see that he still had like those things like that drive inside of him that just told him that he needs to like either up it or like just keep going through the pain and just keep wrestling or keep going. And we see it throughout this match. So
right from the start, we see MickFoley being thrown off the top of the cell by the Undertaker. He is crashing through the announcer table below.
Yeah.
And it was a shocking moment that set the tone for some major brutality during this match.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of these visual aids that we're able to put up now here.
Yes,
this is all from the WWE website and things like that. So first of all, Mankind comes down here. When he's introduced, he comes down with a chair and he actually flings the chair on top of the cage. And then he's like, guess what? I'm going to start this match on top of the cage. And then the Undertaker comes out and he has this long entrance with fireworks and things like that. And then he's looking at him and he's like, what? You want me to go up there? All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this done. So initially, the way this happened was that Mankind had actually watched the previous match.
Okay.
of like the Shawn Michaels and Undertaker match.
Okay.
And he was talking with Terry Funk.
Right.
So they were like, like actual athletes, and they were breaking down the film and they were plotting it. And he's like, I'm not, Mick Foley was telling himself, you know what? I'm not a very good worker. So what I need, I'm not like Shawn Michaels. Can't move like the Undertaker, especially with the Undertaker, because he had like a fractured or a fractured ankle or a broken leg.
Okay.
You hear different things like someone says he has a fractured ankle. If you have Peacock and you look for this match, the Undertaker and Mankind, they actually talk about this match like for the 20th or the 25th anniversary.
Right.
And Undertaker said that he had a broken leg. So kind of conflicting information. People report fractured ankle, but either way, we know.
So did you say that this was originally planned with Terry Funk and Undertaker?
No, this was originally like plotted out. Like Terry Funk and Mankind were watching the video that they had from the previous year with Undertaker and HBK.
Okay.
So they were trying to see what they could improve in the match that he was going to have with Undertaker in 1998.
Okay.
Terry Funk and Mankind, MickFoley. So they were just reviewing the video and like, well, we could do this or we could do that and we could do that. And Mankind seeing this was like, I can't do any of these things that these guys have.
Okay.
So he's like, in order for us, because he was not very confident in his wrestling skills, he's like, in order for us to get this match off, we're going to have to do something daring. We need something to be like a showstopper or something that people will talk about. Like, it could just be like this one big spot, and then people will think that it's still the greatest match ever because still they're like encapsulated by that, their reaction to that first big move, which was him getting thrown off the cage, which eventually we find out that Mick Foley had actually convinced Mr. McMahon, Vince, that he was okay doing this spot because he had climbed up to the cage that day of. But Mick Foley had confessed in his book that if he had actually climbed that actual cell the day of, he would not have done that spot.
Wow. And why is that?
Because of the way he ends up falling. He's afraid of heights.
Okay.
He's like, if I would have seen how high it was and how far I was gonna fall, I probably would not have gone through and doing that spot.
Right. So after this happens, and I think we're all surprised when we're watching this, and they keep on replaying it throughout the match. During this King of the Ring, I think the audience, the announcers, Terry Funk, everybody, including McMahon, seemed pretty stunned that this happened, and he was a little under that guardrail as well. So then, to our surprise, Foley climbs back up on the cell, only to be chokeslammed through the roof, which gives us another unforgettable moment.
Yeah, so he's taken out in the stretcher, and then he's like, no, I need to keep going. So like Maria had just mentioned here, he gets up on the ring, and then he gets chokeslammed through this. Now, originally for this particular spot, they were under the assumption that the cage was actually going to sag from the bottom.
Right. They talked about twist ties.
The twist ties were not part of it, but that's how they end up. They were told something different. They were told that it was like gimmicked or worked.
Right. So how was it held together?
It was held this way, like you mentioned, with the zip ties.
Okay.
But that's not what someone had told them.
Oh, okay.
They told them that they were going to just loosen little by little.
Right. That was the intention. Yeah. But as we see, it gave way pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And right away. And they fall through, and he falls through pretty hard. So while you're watching this, and if you haven't watched it, I recommend that you do. I mean, it's one of the most amazing matches that I've seen to date. Again, with this Hell in the Cell, Undertaker versus Mankind, very iconic match. Once he goes through and he's laying there on the floor for both of those moments, he's laying there for some time. Yeah. So you could see people visibly shaken because they were very concerned, wondering if Mankind was okay.
Yeah. Everybody had come out from like the previous time that Mankind had been thrown off. You had Terry Funk right there. If you are looking in the video that we have right now going on our YouTube channel or Twitch.
So at this point, was his tooth in his nose, or
I don't know when his tooth ends up being in his nose because they don't do any type of close zooms onto his face right here.
I know that he and Undertaker talk about it later. So Mankind was under the impression after he saw footage that he actually had a booger during this whole match. So they're like, he's like, this is like one of the greatest moments of my life. Is this a booger in my nose? Like unbelievable. But come to find out, this is one of his incisors. So this is indeed a tooth that was stuck in his nose. So just imagine that.
Yeah, right. And you're just having like one of your tooth, the incisors are like one of those bigger, like grinding type of teeth.
Right.
So having that go, I don't know how it would like come out and here out of your mouth and how it would end up in your nose.
Yeah, but he's fatigued, he's bloodied, he's battered, but he continues to fight on.
Yeah, he continues to fight on. And not only does he fight on, but like eventually he gets control of the match. Like he starts lifting up the Undertaker, even though I think he dislocated his shoulder on that dive from the top of the cage. So you can see him. He's holding his shoulder.
Right. He's limping along.
He's limping along. He attempts to pick up the steel steps and but he can't.
Because it's too much.
So the Undertaker picks up the steel steps and hits Mankind with it.
Yeah, and even that wasn't done as hard as it normally would. But it still leaves a pretty good impact on him. So it was just hard for me to see. And it's moments like these that remind us why MickFoley is a legend in this business.
Yeah. So once he gets control, he always wanted to bring thumbtacks to the match.
Yes.
And here they are at the bottom.
Was that part of his contract? Thumbtacks?
I don't think this is when his little bonus, quote unquote, came into play or anything like that. It was just something that he did in Japan. So he's like, I'm going to bring it here. And he brought it. And
well, we've seen the thumbtacks with Mankind before, but it was with Jericho. During the last WrestleMania?
The last WrestleMania was Edge. He had brought him out. Yeah.
Oh, so it was Edge and Mankind with the thumbtacks.
MickFoley, yes.
Yes.
And then
so as this photo shows, we see Undertaker, Mankind, and he's about to drop him onto all of these thumbtacks. And if you look closely at the boots in this picture, you'll see that the thumbtacks are indeed stuck to his boots.
Yeah,
his back,
and then they're stuck to his back later.
And then if you watch this match, you'll see the announcers talking about it. They talk about how sharp these thumbtacks are. They are. So all of this just adds to the misery that he's feeling right now. So let's remember, like, not only was he dropped that once, but twice, and now he's been dropped multiple times on the thumbtacks because he didn't think it looked good enough.
Yeah, like when he gets chokeslammed that one time, he actually decides to roll around a couple of times just to make sure he's got enough tacks on there.
This is Foley's baby boy rolling around in the thumbtacks for all of us to enjoy.
Yeah, so eventually, The Undertaker finally takes MickFoley out of his misery. And if you ever decide to go back and watch this match as it's getting to the end, you can see that MickFoley really wanted to keep going in this match because he still tries to attempt to kick out.
Right.
He lifts up his leg, and it's the most like
the tiniest
apathetic kick out ever. It's just like a little kick, but he could barely get his leg up because he's just so tired from taking all of these bumps.
But during this match, we also see Terry Funk come out.
Yeah.
So Terry Funk is out there for a little bit, and he gets, what was it, Tombstone?
No, he gets chokeslammed.
He gets chokeslammed by The Undertaker. And so he gets chokeslammed so hard that he gets knocked out of his shoes.
Yeah, right here. That's where he gets chokeslammed. And then eventually, if you're watching this on Peacock or however you decide to rewatch this match, you eventually see that Terry Funk forgets his shoes in the ring, and you actually see them. Yeah. So he got chokeslammed out of his shoes.
Yes, he does, because those shoes are hanging out in the ring for a little bit, and he's gone. So with that, what do you think about this Hell in a Cell match? Did you watch it live?
I did get to watch this live. When I first saw it, I pretty much had those feelings that Mick Foley had, where he wasn't like confident enough in this match that it needed a spot. Like this feud, pretty much to me, if I could remember correctly, didn't have that much of a build to it.
Okay.
It felt like it should have been Mankind versus Stone Cold, because this is like when it's starting to progress like that, where Mankind wins the title a little bit later on. But
so do you think that this match set the tone for future Hell in a Cell matches? Or
if it didn't set the tone, it was probably like one of those like if you would have had videos, like you know how we have it at work, where they have like a what things you shouldn't do video, and they're like, what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing?
Right.
Well, there's a couple of wrong things here that you shouldn't do. One, you shouldn't tell the boss of your company that you have done something before, and that you're okay with doing it.
How else are you gonna get the job?
I know, but I'm just saying, like in this instance, like what if that had gone wrong?
Right.
Like, what if Mick had actually landed wrong? Not only in that spot where the Undertaker.
If this is landing right,
well, that
I don't want to see what landing wrong looks like.
well,
like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if he lands wrong, we might not have MickFoley in the future. But he also admits that if it wasn't for him not being strong enough to take a chokeslam, because normally with the chokeslam,
right?
Yeah, sure, they're grabbing you from quote unquote your neck.
Okay.
And then you're supposed to like do a little jump,
right,
to give a little bit of height,
a little bit of a lift.
Yeah, but MickFoley was so tired and so like discombobulated, he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, I think so. They tried to stop this match twice, right? After both of those first,
they tried to stop it after the first one, and then for some reason they weren't able to hold MickFoley back when he was being stretchered away.
Okay.
And then definitely they wanted to stop it in the second one. But I think if I remember correctly from watching the anniversary of the Undertaker and Mankind watching it,
right?
Undertaker was concerned because he just wanted to make sure that MickFoley was alive.
Yeah, and you can see that. You can see his concern when he's standing at the top of the cage. He's looking over at his friend. Terry Funk looks super concerned, looking at his friend. I believe he's, again, part of the... he is one of the people that planned out this Hell in a Cell match. So everyone was like extremely concerned. Even the announcers had a moment where they're like, is he still alive? Question mark.
That for sure they were really concerned on the second spot where he gets chokeslammed, because like we mentioned, that particular fence was, or they call it steel, but it's like a chain link fence. Yeah. So it's not gonna really hold up two people, especially when they both weigh 300 plus pounds.
Right. So like you were saying, it was supposed to give away slowly, but it gave away much faster, and he hit harder than he anticipated.
Yeah, and that's when everyone was concerned, because they're like, well, he just took like a 20-foot drop.
Right.
And now he's taking close to another 20-foot drop, except for it's more of a up and down thing, not like a angle, kind of like break your fall type of thing. This was like you're falling onto something, not a collapsible Spanish announcers table like they had this time.
Right. So this match didn't have impact on him short term. It did have a severe toll on him long term.
I bet.
But again, this became the match he most remembered, and a lot of us most remember, following his retirement in 2000. So
yeah, one of his many retirements in 2000.
Yes. So I thought this was a pretty awesome match. I definitely recommend that you watch it. And if you can't get enough of watching and hearing and seeing the details, go to our companion watches that give you some insight. There's an interview with Undertaker and MickFoley, which I thought was pretty interesting because you get to hear their inside take of what took place, what went well, what didn't go well. And I like to hear MickFoley say, he's doing it for the crowd. Hey, you dropped me on them thumbtacks, didn't look good, do it again until we get it right. And that's something I just really have to give this man credit for because it's so impressive and so amazing that he wants to do it for the crowd.
Yeah, he was like one of these guys who, like, later on when you read his books and then you hear him talk, because he goes out and like he has his own podcast, Folius Pod,
right?
And he goes out there and he tells you his stories, and all he wanted to do is go out there, entertain people, and be taken seriously as a wrestler / sports entertainer. And this is one of the matches that you should see if you're thinking about getting into watching sports entertainment, because just like shows that are very popular at this time, and like in pop culture, you want to have like that water cooler talk.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have those people at work or your friends who watch sports or wrestling like I do, or Maria does.
Occasionally Maria does.
Yeah, where you know that they're a wrestling fan, and you're like, have you watched this match? What do you think about this match?
Yeah.
So if you haven't been a fan of wrestling, like Maria's starting this journey,
and since I've seen it, I've been asking friends, what do you think about this match? What's your favorite part? And I do have a curveball for you.
What's up?
So is MickFoley like on your top 5 or top 10 of wrestlers?
I've seen so many wrestlers, and it's so hard, and like doing these revisits with you,
right?
Like it kind of like changes. It's always like a changing list of things,
right?
Like, because from WrestleManias 1 through 10, like my favorite ones would have been Tito Santana, Macho Man, Ricky Steamboat,
right?
Ravishing Rick Rude. I loved his work throughout the time. Mr. Perfect. And then I started gaining also some like respect, or like a little bit of like love for the model Rick Martel.
Yeah, Rick Martel.
I was like, and I remember like it's different. Like when I was growing up and watching this, I'm like, man, I hate Rick Martel. He never does anything good. He betrayed Tito Santana. What am I gonna do? Why is he always so bad? But that just means that he was doing his job.
Yes.
Eventually when he turns it in,
he was
like
working.
He was working it. He put in that heel work. He made me feel what I was supposed to feel,
right,
as a kid, and that made me appreciate his work more. Ravishing Rick Rude, especially when he's coming out there, he's got his chiseled body, and I was always like, man, this guy's such an asshole. He's telling all these women not to look at him, and especially if they're fat and all this.
He sounds like Ric Flair.
Yeah, but yeah, it's always a changing list. But if I was to go like more like hardcore wrestlers, then yeah, you would have to definitely put them up there with you have obviously Terry Funk,
right?
MickFoley, Sabu, and
even then, I mean, let's talk about Jake the Snake. So you're right. I think it depends on the era, but he is on my list of at least the top 10 tiers of some of my like favorite wrestlers. He has like a big heart, and I just think he's awesome. And this guy wrecks every wrestling match that he's in. So I'm glad that he's here to tell the story today. That he's still, like you said, has a podcast, doing a lot of work, doing good for charities, writing books. And again, if you have not watched this, watch it. And if you watched it before, rewatch it with us. Add your comments below. What was your favorite part of this match?
Yeah.
What was your least favorite part of this match, if you have one, and what you think about it? We'd love to know.
Yeah, and was your least favorite part when 20 minutes later into this pay-per-view, MickFoley shows back up? Like, what a trooper. He's just taking this like 15-minute match. Yeah. Sure, there was like 5-minute break from the times that he had to recover.
So is this during the Kane
and Stone Cold match, the first blood match?
Yeah.
He comes back out. He comes with the steel chair to come and interfere with the match.
Yeah. I don't know how he does it. I have no idea.
Like, I don't know who told him to go back out there.
I think he told himself, we'll go back out there, because I'm sure people were pulling him back and telling him, don't go out there. There were plenty of people concerned. Also, Sergeant Slaughter was one of the people that accompanied him out during his first match.
Well, he was technically the commissioner.
Was he the commissioner of that match?
No, of the WWF.
Okay.
Or now E at the time. So he had a professional responsibility to be there to make sure that the talent's okay, quote unquote. But yeah. This match, I can't tell you anymore about this match. That if you're watching this, that if you've already seen this, that I haven't told you before, or that we haven't, or someone else has told you before. But this match, even though it's only like memorable for these two spots, the throwing off of the top of the cage, the throwing through the cage, the thumbtacks, it's still a memorable match. They still were able to tell the story and able to not only elevate the Undertaker, but this also elevated MickFoley,
right?
Because even though this particular match did not go his way, like he did not win,
right?
Obviously, it still made the Undertaker look like a badass, because not only did he survive like the Hell in the Cell, but he also survived someone who was like scratching and clawing and refusing to pretty much quote unquote die. He was still kicking, he was still going, he was, even at the end, he was still trying to kick out,
right?
And he still managed to find a way to defeat this foe who was like a Terminator almost, who kept coming and coming and coming.
Yeah.
And that elevated him, but it also elevated Mick, because now you have some guy who you want to root for. Everyone wants to root for the underdog.
Right.
Everyone wants to see that guy who's always kicking and fighting and always trying to do what's right for whomever they may be going for, like if they're for little kids,
right,
or for the people who like to cheer for the faces or things like that. We always have those fans that like to root for underdogs or for the good guys.
Yeah.
So
I mean, here we are. It's 2023, and we're still talking about this match.
2024.
Oh shit! It's 2024. And this match came out June 28th of 1998. So it's been some time, but here we are still talking about it. And with that, that's all the time that we have for today.
Well, we could do a little bit longer, because I was about to go with you on a little journey. Oh, not a little journey. Now, I have pulled up these matches.
Okay.
That I believe Wrestling Inc. is saying is a better Hell in a Cell match. Yeah. So this is the top 5.
Okay.
The top 5 is Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. This is when Shawn Michaels comes back.
Everyone, if you're listening or if you're watching, I'm like, we're rolling through these top matches right now.
So the top 5, number 5 is the Shawn Michaels versus Triple H Bad Blood 2004 when he comes back.
Okay.
The 4th one is Triple H versus Kevin Nash Bad Blood of 2003.
Okay.
The 3rd one is a woman's
Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Bayley 2020.
Yes.
Wow.
So I remember that one. That one was a very good one. And then, as you can see, the Undertaker Mankind is number 2, and number 1.
Which one?
Is a Triple H versus MickFoley and No Way Out 2000.
Wow.
So if you want to revisit any one of these, you let me know.
I think I might want to revisit at least 4 of those.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and go through these top 5.
Okay.
But if you're watching or you're listening, well, if you're listening, you're more than welcome to visit our YouTube page at Revisiting Mania and drop a comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you do. But drop a comment and give your recommendations of a Hell in a Cell match that Maria or myself or someone else should go ahead and watch that isn't in part of that top 5.
Yeah, because we're all part of the wrestling community. And so we want to keep this conversation going.
Yeah. And if you do not have a YouTube or you just want to shoot us some email, you can do so at revisitingmania@gmail.com.
Watch this.
And if they've gotten this far and they still did not want to watch this,
well, that's your bad.
But yeah, if you have any suggestions as far as what matches you would like to see us cover or add to Maria's education as a smart mark in training,
add it.
Yeah, add a comment, shoot an email. This is gonna be
throw us a post-it.
If you find this,
send us a page.
Yeah,
send us a fax.
You can also interact with us at social media at Revisiting Mania, whether it's on X, on Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram.
Send us a postcard.
Yeah, send us a postcard too. I don't know where it's gonna go, but
send us a single gram.
Yeah,
but not to work though.
Yeah, and this audio will be going on. If you listen to the audio, I'll be posting this on Monday. And if there's nothing else,
you're the VIP.
Yeah. Oh, last thing before we go, we will be revisiting WrestleMania 23.
Woo-woo.
That will be happening with
our special guest, Tony.
But that'll be happening on next Saturday,
Longtime fan.
February 17th. Yes, Anthony will be joining us, first time guest. He was a frequent commenter in our first few episodes of this
awesome
podcast. And please, we invite you all to please, if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe. And
signing off. This is Maria.
This is Carlos. Thank you for joining us.